Yeah, my name is Chiara Noli. I'm an Italian veterinary dermatologist. I work in private practice as a referral dermatologist in northwest of Italy.
And Chiara, this whole subject, antibiotics, antimicrobial resistance, I mean, you've got somebody like President Obama saying it's the biggest public health issue facing the world, but how does it impact you as a dermatologist on a daily basis?
Well, I can tell you that it is about 5 or 6 years in second opinion practice that we are faced with increasing amounts of multi-drug resistant bacterial infections. And if you think that probably 50 to 70% of the dogs we see have a bacterial infection, that means that many times we really are struggling to find an antibiotic that is working on the infections that we have to treat. So as a second opinion dermatologist, this is a huge problem. And I also have the impression that this problem is reaching first opinion practice, at least in the last 1 or 2 years.
And I mean, you said it's obviously you consider it's a huge problem because you've decided to give up your time as part of this GRAM initiative. Clearly, as we heard in the introduction to this session, when we surveyed veterinarians across Europe asking them what they felt they needed, they came back and said, we need more practical guidelines from experts such as yourself as to how to use these products. If we project forward 5 years now and you look back at your involvement in GRAM, what do you hope GRAM will achieve?
Well, of course, we all work at this project in order to stop the emergence of increasing amounts of resistance among bacteria. And this can only be done by decreasing the antibiotic use and by rationalizing the antibiotic use. So I think that in first opinion practice, we should really teach how to use antibiotics and teach to use less and less antibiotics. So we hope that by doing this in the next few years, the use of antibiotics will decrease and will improve qualitatively so that we will have less emergence of resistance. Because if we don't do that, we are going to face a big problem on a large scale, not just second opinion practice, but also first opinion practice in small animal veterinary medicine and dermatology, of course, too. So I hope that with this project we will contribute to improve this situation, which really can become dangerous.
You say the situation can become dangerous. Many would say it is already very dangerous. But if we look at the future of antibiotherapy, what do you think the future of antibiotherapy holds?
Well, as far as I know, there is not a lot of new antibiotics that will come on the market very soon. So of course everybody desires new classes of very potent antibiotics where bacteria don't develop resistance. However, this is probably not happening. So I think that the future of antibiotics would be to use them less and less and to use them in a good way so that we will have less problems of resistance. And I think this is what we should do in the future, because as I said, there's not a lot of new classes of antibiotics coming out, not in the near future.
And just, maybe turning to this morning's discussion, clearly one of the objectives was to get consensus around certain ways to treat and to use antibiotics. Do you think GRAM will bring that consensus? Well,
I hope. I think that we had a couple of points where everybody agreed, and one was don't use antibiotics if it's not needed. For example, surface pyoderma, many cases of superficial pyoderma, periodontal disease, abscesses, and so on. Another consensus was to use narrow spectrum antibiotics as first choice antibiotics and not go to other classes which should be reserved for more difficult cases or where you have resistance, such as fluoroquinolones. So I think that we have agreed on several points that are very similar throughout the different specialties and that could really be equal in all specialities, as I said, and make a common consensus among all experts in this panel.